My guest is Zimkitha Moloi. She has two children whom she home educates, and she also assists her 17-year-old niece. The family is in their fifth year of home education and has never regretted this decision. Zim, thank you for joining me. Why did you decide to home educate your children, and what do you believe is the purpose of education?
Hi, Anel. Thank you for inviting me to your lounge. As you have mentioned that we've been homeschooling for over 5 years, the main driver for us was one of the children who was struggling with mainstream schooling, or rather, mainstream schooling was struggling with him. I don't know how to put it, but he was diagnosed with ADHD when he was 7 years old. For the listener, ADHD is the attention deficit and hyperactive disorder. It's something that we had always suspected from when he was as young as 8 months, but it started posing a problem with the learning process. So it was a frustration for the family. 1 year he would get a teacher that gets him, that understands him, but then in another year, not so much. But it became clear that the system is not equipped to help children like himself. So after we were on a waiting list for remedial intervention, which is a local school, it's a semi-private remedial school. We were on the waiting list for 3 years. That's when I realized that it was not going to happen. And as he was progressing with his grades, the classes, it became clear that academically speaking, there was nothing there. He was not absorbing anything. He was not learning. So it was at this time that I met someone who was a homeschooler, and she took me through the process. And at this point, I was certain that I cannot do worse. It had come to that point. So that's how we got into homeschooling. Taking out the younger kid, my daughter, it just became a matter of convenience. Otherwise, she was doing very well at public school, but it was a matter of practicality and convenience for us to take her out of school as well. At this point, I hadn't thought much about what exactly is the purpose of education. It was not a conversation that we were having as a family, but we have grown. 5 years was a long time ago. We have grown and have come to understand really that the purpose of education should be to instill curiosity and love of learning about the world, about ourselves and others. So this kind of education must encompass the academics, the social, and the spiritual. So that's basically how we have come to understand our education philosophy to be.
I love how you word that. And it speaks to the mother's heart that you realize that you need to offer your child something better. And obviously, yes, this is a challenging time when you first decide to start with home education. So can you still remember the challenges you faced at the beginning? And are there any new challenges that you face now?
When we started on this journey, we were at a point of surrender, hey. So we were very agreeable. It's difficult to pinpoint a particular challenge, but I think I, as the person who was going to be the primary educator of the children, there was a lot of self-doubt on my side because of the kind of person that I am. I get excited very quickly, and once my mind fixates on something, it's difficult to take it off. But once I lose interest, nothing can get me back. I don't know if you understand that kind of a person. So the challenge then was self-doubt. What if I get bored with this halfway? Or what if I don't know how to teach some deep science, some advanced science? It was those little things, really, but they sorted themselves out quickly when I discovered the homeschooling communities on Facebook. It became clear the solidarity of parents alone, their resolve. it kind of makes all those doubts fly out of the window. Although at the time I didn't even have any practical tips on my hands, but I knew that I was in good company and we were going to make it. Another challenge really was processing. There's a lot of information that will come up. A new world opens for you once you join these groups. So I had to process all this information about homeschooling. Little things that we take for granted, practicalities like everybody seems to think, for example, I think I mentioned this in one of my videos, they seem to think there is a dedicated homeschooling department at the Department of Education that is there to support us as the parents. So they assume that they will sign up and then they fetch materials and then their children have to present themselves for testing every term, those kind of things. So when we realized that homeschooling doesn't work like that, we really had to think very hard and be sure that this is what we want to do. In terms of challenges currently, the children have grown. And like I mentioned in our other communication, I also have a third one now. She is in the middle of my two by age. I took her when she was 15 years old. Yeah, just after her birthday, actually. She stays with us. So in a way, I'm her guardian. So now I've got 3 homeschoolers. The firstborn really is on auto mode right now. But with the second one, because we chose to go with a Cambridge curriculum for her, it requires a lot of work, and it requires that I be there in a way that I haven't before with the older ones because of the kind of curriculum that they have been using. So it's basically a matter of now I have to apply myself and work harder than before, especially when you start such an advanced curriculum at that age. There's a lot, there's pressure to keep up, and then I have to wake myself up and realize that we're not competing with anyone here. So yes, those are basically the challenges then and now.
But the advantage is that you are learning so much now. I mean, you could almost write the matric exam again.
Oh, so true. The middle one, who's doing Cambridge now, she actually doesn't want to see me next to her books because I have become very interested in her physics. So when she doesn't feel like it, I make her sit and say, let's sit. I want to know more about the atomic structure. It's like another world has opened for me because at the school and university, I studied business sciences and economics. So I feel like I've been given an opportunity. So it's like a second lifetime. I don't know how to put it, but it's exciting on the other hand, yes.
Yes. Yeah, scary and exciting.
Yes, it is. It is very scary. Hey.
Zim, what would you say are the greatest benefits of home educating one's children?
I'll speak from a personal experience. For my children, full participation in their social programs, extracurricular activities, and the communities that we belong to. Our community where we live, the church as well. I saw a shift whereby my children, they want to participate. They've become full members of the society in a way that I know was not going to happen when they were at school. The workload has been reduced is not the right word, because I really believe that they have learned much more, even academically, but the structure has allowed us to make time for life, to be able to live and be part of the community. And also now they can give themselves wholly to their extra curricular activities, especially my oldest, who triggered this whole homeschooling journey. When he was at school, he used to do karate. He had to drop it because there were days when it would be clear that the homework will go until like 10 p.m. So we had to drop him out of it, despite the fact that for an ADHD person, it's clear that he needs that kind of stimulation, but we had to drop him out of it. So the social aspect has become a huge benefit for us. Improved the relationship between us and the children. We've become their allies. We are there every step of the way, important milestones in their lives. This has made them, I think, to trust us more than your average teenager would trust a parent. I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, you are.
Yeah, so I noticed that there's a lot of trust going on between us, especially with the teenagers. Another advantage is that school or learning is no longer synonymous with suffering, boring, feeling stupid, that kind of thing. They love learning and they are not scared to try out things that would have intimidated them otherwise, because they know that the only consequence really, if you start something too advanced, is that you will find out that it's too advanced and then analyze it some more or realize that it's not for you. There is no shaming or shunning or a bad report. So I've noticed a love of learning as well. They are teaching me half the time more than I teach them. So those are the benefits that we have come to realize.
I want to ask you about your mother language. Do you teach that to your children? Do you teach in your mother language? You mentioned now that you're doing the Cambridge curriculum, so that is obviously in English. But for other parents, are there books and resources readily available in our other South African languages?
Anel, you know what? Other than the resources for, I'm Xhosa, basically, so I speak Xhosa, but my husband is Sotho. So it's our house is a hot pot of cultures, really, because his parents are also mixed languages. So my children have never learned in their mother tongue. Let me put it that way. Even when they were at school, because the oldest was sixth grade when we pulled them out, and the youngest was about to start third grade. So they were in an English medium school, doing English as a first language and Afrikaans as a second language. So they have never really learned in their mother tongue. And also we do not have beyond like second grade or third grade here in South Africa, we do not have a mother tongue instruction. English is always the medium of instruction for teaching the content. So it's unlikely that there are no books that there's no material that I'm aware of, for example, that will teach history or science in isiXhosa. But you will find a material for the specific isiXhosa first additional language or isiXhosa home language. You will find material for those, but not the main languages being taught in the isiXhosa medium. So I think it's still a challenge, even for mainstream schooling as well. So I don't know. I do not foresee how we can break that into that and teach the children in their home language. Of course, there's nothing preventing me from explaining concepts and the content of the syllabus in my language, but no, we use purely English for learning. It is the language of learning that we use.
So Zim, in this time of lockdown, we all suffer from cabin fever. How do you normally socialize your children, and what activities are you most looking forward to?
I'm not a social person, hey, personally speaking. But like I mentioned, my older one is a brown belt karate. So he's got his classes 3 times a week. And he's also volunteering now, helping the sensei to teach the children in the area at the school, to teach them karate as well. So he's, they grow so quick. So he's also teaching the karate and also learning as well. And then the girl, the the last point is with Girl Guides for our district. The middle one, when she arrived to be with us, she couldn't join at the time because her age group was meeting at a different venue. So she talked to them and said, okay, I want to assist with the younger ones. So they enrolled her as a junior guider. So that's her social, really, that's just her social program. She's a guider, but it's not official because she is still under 18. And then we've got our participation in our church. Currently, they do these activities via Zoom. Like my daughter this evening is going to have a meeting with the other girls and their guider. They do them via Zoom. And the one with the karate as well, they do the same with their sensei. Personally, the only, what I would call a social program for me that I'm looking forward to is being able to go to church, because that's where they meet people of very varying age groups. And they're kind of, they are shining there because people are amazed at how they can communicate with people at different age groups. In fact, my 18-year-old now has friends who are like 75 because of that Sunday program that we do. So that's the one that I'm looking forward to the most. I do feel that though they would love to go back and do these programs, but I'm not comfortable at this stage. But seeing that the husband has gone back to work and whatnot, maybe they will ease the regulations and allow them to go back to their normal routines.
Yeah, I think we're all looking forward to having some semblance of a normal routine. I like my home and spending lots of time here, but even I miss having a nice chat with someone face to face.
Yes, I'm starting to. I used to think I'm an indoor person, but these days I even dream about people that I went to grade 2 with. Hey, I think I'm craving. Another thing, Anel, that I forgot to mention, because people find it curious, especially with my son, he is still the social circle that he had at school. He still has it, actually, the best friend and the two other boys. People find this curious because they would say that normally homeschoolers, they lose those friendships, but for some reason he kept them, and I'm grateful for that. Really, I'm really grateful for that. And the neighbors as well. My youngest is best friends with our neighbor's daughter since like they were in nappies. That is still going strong, and it is a source of social interaction for them. We didn't have to try hard, but for some reason they didn't lose much in that part of their lives. I'm grateful for that a lot.
It seems like home education is really working for you, and that you see many benefits from it. And I want to thank you for sharing your experience with us.
Thanks for having me, Anel, and sorry for the network problems. It's been terrible since the lockdown. I don't know what the relationship is there, but I'm surprised that we could even finish this one in an audio format. But thank you for having me.
The Homeschool Lounge provides information on home education in the South African context. If you have suggestions for future topics or would like to contact us, please send an email to thehomeschoollounge@gmail.com.